Hello, friends and fellow INFJ aliens out there. My name is David, and thank you for watching this. A little bit of a different setting than my normal videos. I've got some camera shenanigans going on right now, and so just a little bit of a different thing, temporary. I'm going to get back to other stuff soon. I wanted to do a little talk today on not so much talking to you as INFJs, but more so trying to talk to other people and let them know what it is like to be around, be friends with, or be in a relationship with one of us, INFJ thinking alien weirdos. Before I get into some of that fun stuff, a couple things that are coming up on this channel that are really, really cool, and I hope you will really like. The first of which is I'm right about at that 10,000 mark. Woohoo! And I set out a call for questions. I got a ton of amazing questions. And so a Q&A video is coming very, very soon as it actually hits 10,000. So hopefully that's shortly. Second thing is I'm planning a 5-video series over the course of a week, a Monday through Friday, every night. And you can think of it as just like kind of like an INFJ help series. The 5 subjects I'm going to be covering. The first one is developing self-confidence as an INFJ. Second video will be on setting boundaries, but still staying open. So not just door slamming everybody, people. We don't do that. Third is using gratitude as an INFJ to stay balanced. Honestly, this is something that is very, very near and dear to my heart and something that I've worked really hard at. So I've got a lot of thoughts on daily gratitude to be a more balanced INFJ because I think that would really help you guys. The fourth one has a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek title, but it's basically how not to feel guilty for existing. I know, I mean, it sounds silly, but a lot of times that is kind of an INFJ mood, you know, where it's like, sorry is like our favorite word. Sorry for this, sorry for that, sorry for everything. The last video in the series is going to be following your heart, but staying sane. So here's what I need you to do. I'm going to be releasing these over a week. So every night for an entire week. I've yet to record all of them. So I'm kind of working on that. And if you're interested in these, make sure you've subscribed and hit the bell. That is really important. That way you get the update, especially when they're coming out rapid fire, like one every night. I've never tried something like this before. They are going to be this kind of style, sort of like an up close chat. And I'm going to try and let a little bit of the editing slide some because I edit my videos a lot. I can record for 20 minutes and maybe get like 8 minutes of usable footage because most of it is just me staring into space. I'm going to try and leave a little bit of that in so you can at least see me forming some thoughts as we're going through these things. So moving on to the topic of this video, let's go ahead and throw in an intro and then I'm going to get to what it is like being friends with or in a relationship with an INFJ. Here we go. So what do you think people think when they come across an INFJ in the wild? What is a first impression that you think is a pretty typical thing for somebody to notice about an INFJ? And these questions were in my mind and I'm like, man, I'm not really sure how to answer that because I am always on this side of the fence and I'm never really on that side of the fence. I have met plenty of fellow INFJs, especially since starting this channel, and I've had my interactions with them. I've had my suspicions about some of them that I've correctly typed here or there, just in normal everyday life. And so I thought, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask some people within my circle of friends and acquaintances and ask them, what is it like being friends with an INFJ or having an INFJ in your life? And I've aggregated some responses. That's a good word, by the way, aggregated. And I've collected these and I wanted to read some of these to you. There's just 5. I asked 5 people and I'll throw up their types as well as some of the things that they have said. I'm going to read them all out to you. The first one I want to bring up is one of my close friends and his name is Eric and he is an INTJ. Yep. First person I asked is an INTJ. I figured just let's rip the Band-Aid off people and get right to it. Eric is He's very INTJ. So here's what he said about being friends with an INFJ. Speaking as a fellow introvert, it's quite refreshing. We have a great many similarities, and it's very fulfilling to have mature adult conversations and then suddenly change gears into something totally goofy, and then back to serious without skipping a beat. It's very much like finding a kindred spirit, a great listener, and a generally calm port in a storm. Overall, being friends with an INFJ is like having a living, breathing comfort blanket. And after he sent that to me, I'm like, are you sure you're an INTJ? He's an INTJ. Like, there's no question about it. But it's kind of cool to hear from somebody like that. As an INTJ, he has dominant introverted intuition in common with us. So we are very in tune like that. Now, Eric and I have known each other for many, many years. We worked closely together for many, many years. He is a good friend of mine. And so we got to know each other on a real fun level like that. And one of the things that I observed about being friends with him is that as an INFJ, I always have more of a broad idealistic view of things. However, I'm not great at like crossing the I's and dotting the T's. Crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And with him and his INTJ brain, he was very, very good at that. So we actually had a great working relationship together because of that dichotomy. On to one of my former karate students, and her name is Bailey. She is 15 years old. I've known her and was teaching her karate since she was 8 years old. So Bailey and I know each other really well, and she's a hoot. And so I'm going to read her response. Now, Bailey is an INTP. I don't know why. I guess I just know introverts. That's probably a thing. Here's what Bailey said. Being friends with an INFJ is an 11 out of 10 experience. She wrote this like an Amazon review. It's pretty funny. They wear their hearts on their sleeves and are super empathic. They just want to love and fix people, even if it's an unhealthy habit. Being friends with an INFJ is easy AF. She's a 15-year-old girl, people. This is the way she talks. You can talk about pretty much anything with them, and they're very thoughtful people. INFJs are introverted, though, so be sure to give them their space. In conclusion, I love my INFJ friends and would highly recommend the INFJ species for anyone looking for friendship. She's a hoot. Okay. Already, though, just with two of them, you're starting to see this kind of pattern where great listener, a comfort, living, breathing comfort blanket, somebody that wants to help people and is, empathic and, loves to help or fix people. And obviously that can get bad, but we're just going to set that aside for a moment. So we're going to move on to hearing from an extrovert. And this is an ESFJ, and this is Hannah. What's it like to have an INFJ in my life? Both wonderful and frustrating. It's amazing to have someone that will always listen to you and give you advice and be there for you. INFJs are always kind and caring and loving. But for an ESFJ, the introvertedness can be difficult. So you just have to learn as an extrovert that if you want to go out, you have to be okay with them wanting to stay home. Truer words never spoken right there. Yeah, I mean, who else likes to stay home? You can raise your hand while you're watching this if you want to. People won't think it's weird, especially if you're in public. It's fine. Hannah added some extra thoughts to this because she also happens to be my wife. So Hannah, in speaking with living with an INFJ, because she has to experience that, congratulations and I'm sorry. To live with an INFJ, you have to be okay with them being restless and uncomfortable in their own skin. Give them encouragement, but don't push your luck. If you push them, they'll go into a bunny blanket of depression. I have no idea what that's about at all. I've never heard of a bunny blanket before. Whatever. Now this is true, and this is one of the reasons I really like MBTI theory, and I like to dig in and know people's types. And it is because it does help you in working through that relationship and some of the things that you may not really get along with somebody else or not be on the same wavelength as somebody else. So obviously an E and an I in a room, one is an extrovert, they're going to start the conversation. One is an introvert, they may not. But also knowing our cognitive functions and knowing how we process things and how we work and what it looks like when we're overwhelmed or being unhealthy. And those are things that you can learn about another person and you can discover. Now, some people, when you're like, hey, take this personality test, and I want to know like where you land, they're like, that's personality tests are dumb. And why don't you just figure out like what Pooh character I am? I was Winnie the Pooh, by the way, when I took that test. I was Winnie. Or which My Little Pony are you? Rainbow Dash. I'm just saying. The main thing is knowing that other person and having them know you and coming to that understanding of, yeah, there's some times where I need to introvert. I need to go and just not. And I know that there's other times where, my partner needs to go out and needs to be an extrovert and needs to be out in the world, and to support them, I need to go and do that sometimes. And so having that understanding so there's no resentment being caused is really, really critical. Now, to throw some extra fun at this exercise of asking people what it's like to be friends with an INFJ, I decided to ask 2 of my close INFJ friends what it is like having other INFJ friends. And I wasn't expecting the responses that I got, I think is the first thing. And so both of these are YouTubers. I have mentioned them both on this channel before, and I'm going to do so again because I think you need to give these people a subscribe. They're both wonderful, and their INFJ-ness really shines through a lot of times on their videos. And so it's always good. These aren't like INFJ tubers, but they are INFJs on YouTube. And so still give them a subscribe and help them out. These are really good people, and you'll see them in the comments and stuff like that here as well. So the first INFJ I asked was my friend Jacqueline, and I've mentioned her before a few videos ago. She is into the plant thing. She's in the plant community, and she is definitely very, very INFJ. And I wanted to know, like, hey, you are an INFJ and you are friends with an INFJ, multiple ones. And so what is that like from your perspective? Now, full disclosure, when I asked her, I was like, what's it like being friends with an INFJ? Isn't it weird? So that's where this kind of starts off. And her answer was this: no, it's not weird. It's awesome. Not having to explain myself all the time. Mostly, it's just really nice knowing that you can be awkward, and it's okay because they feel just as awkward. It's bizarre sometimes to see your traits play out in someone else, but also kind of cool because you gain more perspective that way. I think it's really spectacular not to feel so alone. What I really like in her response is, it's bizarre sometimes to see your traits play out in someone else. And that is really, really true. I think anytime that I've had a longer conversation with an INFJ in person, face to face somehow, whether it was through like a video chat or whatever else, there are those moments where it's like, wow, this is really weird. Like it's like talking into a mirror and seeing that mirror just having a conversation back with you with some of the same quirks, some of the same stares off into the distance and everything else. So definitely, if you're interested in seeing another INFJ that is in front of a camera and seeing some of those traits and how they mirror your own, please check out Jacqueline's channel and subscribe. The last person I asked was my friend RM Moore. And RM is a fellow writer. She's a wonderful writer, and she operates a channel called Tipsy on Tuesday. And she cracks open a beer and uncomfortably talks about uncomfortable topics. And some of these are very, very uncomfortable. She has been through some trauma. And again, if you want to see what an INFJ is like as they are working through these things and talking about them and giving you a different kind of perspective on them, I'd highly encourage you to check out RM's channel as well. She wrote a bit, and so I'm going to go through it, and I'm not going to like post it up because she was voice texting this, and so there was some spelling errors, and I don't want her to be mortified by me just like showing screenshots. So here we go. She started it like this: what's it like to be friends with an INFJ? This is like a classic INFJ beginning. Being that I am in fact an INFJ myself, I can say that it is incredibly helpful to have someone relate to you with such accuracy in the emotional plane. Sensitivity and compassion are the 2 headlining stars in this musical disaster of my feelings. I told you, she's a really good writer. So knowing that someone gets it is such a comfort. On the other hand, being an INFJ friend, I know that I often fear my emotions, and sensitivity is too much for some people. I get overly excited, overly sad, overly overwhelmed, overly easily. I am well aware that having an INFJ friend can be an exhausting thing, because there is always something going on inside of us that is just a lot. So that energy can be exhausting if we are unbalanced. There's just a little bit more. So it is pertinent that the INFJ keeps boundaries. It's why I'm doing a video on it, people. Keeps hold of the sense of self, because otherwise it can be detrimental to your mental state. INFJ friends are the kindest, the most selfless, and the most empathetic. We can really support because we feel. She added one last thing to this, which was, we are also the easiest to take advantage of. Well, let's just let that last line sink in for a moment, huh? So one of the common threads through all of this is that people do see INFJs as caring, and they see us as wanting to help, and they see us as those introverts, and maybe a little bit awkward, and maybe a little bit weird. And yeah, they know that we need some space and things like that. Now, it's important to note that these are all people that I interact with regularly. And so when somebody is saying, that they're going to need some space, it's because that as a friend, I have made sure that they know that if I do shut down for a few days or don't respond, it is simply me getting my recharging on. Likewise, and now I'm going to scold my INFJ friends out here. That's what I'm doing. Likewise, it's really important to understand that you are an INFJ and you have some of these things. You have some of these needs. You have some of that recharging alone time that is necessary for you. You can get overwhelmed very easily. You can be very sensitive to things like criticism and everything else. I've been there. I've done that. I'm still sensitive to criticism. But it is critical for you to make sure that you understand your friend just as much as your friend understands you. Don't be the INFJ that says, I need alone time and I need space and I get overwhelmed, and so I need this and I need that and I need this, without any consideration for the fact that your friend also has their own cognitive soup sloshing around in their brain, and they are going to have their needs too. They may need to go out. They will need to spend time with you. They will need you to be the ear. They'll also need to have just a fun, basic, run-of-the-mill conversation with you from time to time. They may need you to engage. They may need you to not engage. There's all sorts of different things going on. But if you're that person that is just telling them what your own needs are and not understanding that there is a dynamic and there is a cognitive dance, so to speak, going on, then you're making it a one-sided friendship and a one-sided relationship. For those of you who may be watching that have an INFJ friend or are trying to understand an INFJ in your life just a little bit better, know this: we feel everything. We feel it strongly. It echoes in our head. It echoes in our hearts. And it is a really intense thing sometimes. And so even when you're having just a bad day, and you may make a comment about being depressed or something along those lines, that jumps out to us. And very often it's something that we absorb like a sponge. And if you are depressed, we will probably get depressed with you. And it's not because of any other reason than we're just really feeling what you feel. And we do want to help. And it's okay to let somebody in a little bit so they can do that for you. I mean, really, you can kind of treat your INFJ like a cat, just like give us some food and some water during the day, take some time to just leave us alone. We'll come to you when we need a little scratch behind the ears or whatever. I mean, don't give us a litter box or anything, like that's just weird. But I think it's really important, and it's critical to just understand each other. And that's one of the ways that MBTI theory can really come in handy. So when you, my sweet INFJ friends, are out there researching yourself and trying to read and absorb every word that's ever been said about an INFJ on the internet ever, take some time to go through and learn about the other types, learn about those cognitive functions and what makes that person tick, and find out what your partner is. and make sure it aligns. Make sure that what you're reading as far as they're typed, that they are typed correctly. I mean, if it seems way off, then yeah, maybe something is a little bit weird. But it's all in an effort to stay balanced and make sure that you have a friendship that is balanced and people that really understand you. Don't be the INFJ that just goes it alone. You can't do that. It's not sustainable. You need interaction. You need other people, and you need to feel, and you're so capable of it. And just remember that it is a gift. Being an INFJ, I really do believe, is a gift. I see so many comments that really break my heart. People like, I wish I wasn't an INFJ. I hate being on an INFJ, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, man, you're really down on yourself, and I'm sorry you're feeling that way, but you have to understand how much you have to give to other people. Yes, it's important to set those boundaries. Yes, it's important to hold stand your ground and have those principles. And you really do need to do that, but don't shutter your gift away. Other people need that. The world needs more of you. And so I hope this video is at least giving you some thought, some food for thought, and something to really just kind of muse over, as far as the relationships in your own life and who are your friends and how do you interact with them, and get out there and start typing people, and see if you can learn about them and see if it really works that way. I think that when I started really paying attention to it is when I was able to really flourish in a lot of my personal relationships, and I hope that you can as well. So as always, thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe, hit the bell. That 5-video series is coming up, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. And also, links are in the description. Please give a sub to my friend Jacqueline and my friend RM Moore. They are very sweet INFJs out here on the interwebs and would love, I'm sure, to interact with you as well. So thank you all so much, and I will be catching up with you very, very soon.